today's video, we are going to be building a kind of berserker kind of warrior, which is going to be based, like, I do want to warn you, this is going to shine the most whenever you are performing parries. That's when this guy is going to shine the most. If you're going to be fighting like very difficult elite enemies, you're going to be able to probably one-shot them because of this character that we have right in here. On regular basic enemies, you can just do heavy charge attacks with your dual wielding weapons that you can see, as you can see right in here. But for example, there's a couple of times when you're fighting knights that are very, they have more armor, they have more health pool, and we're still going to be able to one-shot them because the amount of damage that you deal with this character, it's just humongous because of the actual combination that we have for the weapons and for the synergies that we have on this character. So this is ideal as well if you're struggling with someone that deals lots of damage and has lots of health, but you're good at parrying, and it's just going to take a couple of hits for you to kill everything thanks to this build. So the first thing that we are going to need, it's the Raven Crest Executioner. The attacks at full health will always be critical hit damage. It's also going to ignore enemy blocks. You can find this bad boy right in here. There is going to be an elite enemy that is going to have it right here. Just be careful because he has the axe and you're not going to be able to block his attacks because of that very specific same reason. So yeah, you have to be dodging if you want to beat that guy. He's also going to give you the perfect ring for a warrior, which is very useful as well at this build. And then you're going to want to come to the abandoned stronghold, which you can find right in here in the map. This is where you're going to find a specific unique NPC that is going to give you a set of good daggers, so it's very useful to come in here. However, it's tricky to find the weapon that we're needing right in here because it's going to be right here on the ground, like quite literally here on the ground. The Duelist Swords. Successful parry causes the next hit to deal double damage. You get the drift, what we're trying to accomplish in here. This guy is going to deal lots and lots of damage. As you can see right here, like, it deals lots and lots of damage. But also, every time that you do damage to an enemy that's full health, it's always going to be critical. That critical damage is always going to be doubled if it's followed after a parry. That's why you're always so powerful, and that's why you're always one-shotting everything, even when you're fighting highly armored enemies that have lots of health pool. So that's why this is so amazing. And as a matter of fact, even as you progress into the game, you can still be using the Duelist Swords right in here, even in the second region of the game, if only for the next hit to deal double damage. So yeah, that's ideal, that's amazing. As for the armor, we're using the Face of the Last Man that you can find, like always, right here with the NPC on the Blood Lake. If you enter the cave and you kill the NPC right in that's where you're going to find the armor. However, we're also using some of the Duelist stuff. As you can see right here, one of my favorite pieces of the Duelist armor set is the gloves, because they increase melee damage by a huge 20%. And also critical hits restore 10 stamina. Since you're always going to be starting with a critical hits, you're always going to have your stamina back, so that you can rinse and repeat back and forth if you're fighting several enemies. So stamina for charge heavy attacks is not going to be that much of an issue. You're also going to have the Dual Knight Cape, which is going to increase your stamina regeneration by 25 and the critical hit chance by 10%, which is nothing. It's not that ideal because we already have that on like 100%, but yeah, the stamina regen, it's actually kind of nice. So the location, it's actually quite simple. It's an NPC that's going to be like hidden right in here. If you follow this main road that leads to the Halls of the South Fortress, and then you go down here, he's going to be conveniently hidden right in here. So I don't specifically remember if he was like here. I believe that he was, or he was like in this building. Either way, he's going to be in one of these locations. I believe that he was actually right in here. But here's where you're going to find the knights that you need to fight to get this stuff. So now let's talk about the stats and requirements for this early game build to work, and the stats and requirements for this guy is actually kind of heavy. You do actually need quite a whole lot of stuff. So for the axe, the Ravencrest Executioner, it's going to require 10 strength, 3 perception, and 4 endurance. At that time you're already required to be like level 16 or level 17, so it takes quite a while before you can actually start using this little thing that we have right here. Consequently, you're also going to need Dexterity, so you, as you can see right here, you are required to be somewhat high level to start establishing this build. Additionally, if you do not want to spend that many points into Dexterity, which is going to be like 5 points into Dexterity, the parrying swords that you can get from the armor, you should already, if you have the armor that I'm using, you should already have the parrying sword, which is going to deplete the attacker stamina that much more, so that's ideal. You can pair that up with the Honorary Blade, which is going to come from the same Duelist Knights, so this is a very good combination that requires not that much of investment like the one that we have right here. So you have the Honorary Blade that is going to deal 100% more damage if the enemy is below 25% stamina. If you're using the Parrying Sword, you are going to be depleting the attacker's stamina. So either way of these two combinations are just good enough, and I just showed you how to get them both. So the combination would be the Honorary Blade and the Parrying Sword, or the Ravencrest Executioner with the Duelist Swords. But I do believe that the Ravencrest Executioner is going to deal overall more damage, and it's going to deal that much more damage whenever you one-shot enemies, not before you actually get their stamina low. So yeah, it's a matter of getting stuff as you level up, but this is where you're going to be required to have lots of stats. First, we need the requirement for Dexterity, we need the requirement on Perception, we also need the requirement on Endurance, and then we need the requirement for Strength. And my advice is that the final point that you place is into Endurance, because you're going to be heavy, quite heavy. So yes, this character actually requires lots of investment. As for the skill trees, like always, General is going to give you flat 25% more damage, so that's always ideal. And then we're going to have One-Handed, increase the one-handed weapon damage by 20%, and then also the heavy attacks while dual wielding, they cost 35% less stamina. But also we have, since we're using the axe, we have the Adapted Combat. Fighting with two weapons of different types increases physical damage by 20%. This right here, this is huge. And then we have a whole bunch of points that we can spend on different locations, like for example the heavy attacks with one-handed weapons, reduce the target stamina by 15% of the inflicted damage. And then we have the overall consecutive hits that I do not advise that much for you to have with this build, because remember that, well, at the end of the day, we want to be one-shotting things. We don't want to be using like the blades on itself one by one. We want to be charging a heavy attack and make that be our final damage on itself. So a good idea would be to go into stamina to increase the stamina, but also the First Blood, that whenever you have full stamina, deal 10% more damage. If we increase this, that's going to be 30% more damage, which is always ideal. Just, if you're going to do that, remember that charging heavy attacks sometimes is going to deplete your stamina, sometimes it's not. So for example, if I charge it for too long, my stamina is going to deplete and no longer will I have access to that bonus right in here. But if I instantly charge a heavy attack, I'm just going to consume that whole bunch of stamina, but I'm still going to retain that 30% more damage. And that's ideal how you would want to go about this build. Ideally, parry and then kill, parry, kill, parry, kill, parry, kill. If you're using the other combination, which ideally you're going to be using the other combination for the weapons that I just showed you as you level up, because you're going to be level 20 by the end of Act 1, and you wouldn't be actually using that good the weapons. One more thing that I do need to mention is that this is actually a tier 2 region weapon. Remember that the weapons are tier based on region. This is a tier 2 region weapon, so you can use this on the second region of the game. So yes, you get it until the final of the first region. You're going to be required to have the stat requirements, but then this is something that you can carry into the second region of the game. There's also cool weapons in the second region of the game, and then the only thing that you would be ideally changing would be the duelist sword, but I wouldn't advise that because, like I mentioned, this is going to double the damage, which is ideal. Anyways, if you like the content, like and never super appreciated. Nostalgia day, you gorgeous beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, you're on Discord. Have a beautiful day, goodbye.